Okay, everyone. So today we are going to be doing a yoga flow together. We're going to start in a standing position on our mat, hands at our sides, and we're going to start with 3 deep breaths. So exhale, inhale, let it all out. Breathe in, exhale. One more time. Breathe in, exhale. We're going to bring our arms up overhead. Exhale back. Lift up to stand and forward fold. Good job, guys. I'm going to turn sideways here just so you can see what I'm doing. And we are going to just bend our knees a little bit to start stretching out here in our forward fold. The first forward fold of the day is usually the tightest. And you can be here or here if you need to be. And then release it down, halfway up, flat back. Lengthen through the tailbone, all the way through the back and to the top of the head. And then we're going to forward fold again. Good job, guys. We're going to take a big step back with our left foot. Back heel is going to turn down, and we're going to stretch the arms forward and lift up. Good job, guys. Breathe down into it. Hold, warrior one, sinking into it. If you're really leaning forward, try and bring the upper body up over the hips. And then arms are going to go down. Find your plank. Good job, guys, and hold. Hip bone slightly tucked toward the rib cage. So not so much that we're arching up, and we're definitely not drooping down. We're keeping a nice straight line from heels to hips to shoulders. And then at your own pace, we're going to slow chaturanga. Elbows are going to hug the sides. And we're going to lower. When you're at the bottom, hover if you can, and then push forward. Knees stay lifted from the mat. And breathe. Good work. Hold. Thinking about that back bend, you can look up or straight ahead, your choice. And then we're going to rock back over the feet. Flat back is the important part here, so bend your knees if you need to. And then start to drop the heels toward the ground. And again, we can walk the dog here, so we can pedal the knees a little bit, pedal the feet. Good job, guys. And when you found that your legs feel a little bit looser, find that down dog. Look forward, left knee comes into the chest. We're going to come through our plank and then step that foot between the hands. Find that runner's lunge again. Back heel turns down, and we're going to stretch forward, lift up, sinking into the hips. Good job. Breathe. Excellent work. Stretching into it and holding. And again, if you find that you're a little bit far forward, just lift back up and then come down. So we want shoulders above the hips and belly button generally turned toward that front knee. Breathe. And hands come down. We're going to find our plank. And hold. So again, gentle tilt of the hip bones toward the lower ribs, activating those deep belly muscles. And then a slow chaturanga. Hover at the bottom if you can. Hold, and then push forward when you're ready. Good job. And breathe. Breathe. Thinking about stretching the front of the abdomen and bending through the back, lengthening from the low back. Rock back over the toes. Find your down dog. You can pedal here again if you need to. Otherwise, just enjoy that stretch. Pushing into the palms, lengthening the armpits. Like I said, flat back is most important, so you can have a bend in your knees if you need it. And then gently working the legs closer to straight. Breathe here and hold. So hands and feet pushing down into the ground, pushing the ground away from you, and hips lifting toward the ceiling at the same time. Look forward, step both feet forward between the hands, and we're going to squeeze the ankles and knees together and pretend there's an imaginary chair that we're sitting in. Adding the arms. If the stretch is too much, hands can be at your heart center. Your choice. And breathe. Good job. Excellent. Forward fold. And we're just going to sway here a little bit. So letting our weight rock forward into the toes, backwards into the heels, and maybe a little bit side to side. Just feeling the way that that weight shift changes the dynamic of the stretch. Good job, guys. Breathe here. Halfway up, flat back. Again, lengthening through the tailbone, through the low back. Arms can either go to your shins or stretch straight down toward the mat. And forward fold. Breathe. And then we're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time. So starting with the tailbone, gently and slowly, stacking our back over the hips and working our way all the way up to the neck and head. Hands at your heart. You can stand here for a breath or two, just letting yourself feel your heartbeat. Breathe. And notice, does your heart feel like it's nice, slow, and calm? Is it elevated? Do you feel like your body is warm or cold? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just about building that awareness of the mind-body connection. Good job, guys. And we're going to separate the feet a little bit, just more than hip distance apart. Toes are turned out at an angle. We're going to drop into Malasana, which is a deep yoga squat. So hands are going to stay at our heart. Knees are going to press open, and we're going to let ourselves lower. Good job. From here, we're going to hold for a breath or two. So being aware of stretching here through the inner thighs and using the elbows to kind of help with that stretch. And you might be more lifted. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are is fine. You need to listen to your body. So we're going to activate the muscles on the outside of the thighs and outside of the glutes. And how we're going to do that is we're going to remove our hands. So our knees are going to want to collapse in a little bit if they were, giving a lot of pressure. We are going to use our knees, use our outer thigh muscles to pull those knees open. Hold. Okay, so if I put my elbows back in, they would be there, or maybe even have a little space. Release into it. Okay, again, open the knees. Hold and breathe. And release into it. One last time. When you're ready, open those knees. Breathe. Good job, guys. And we're going to come down onto our butts. And we're going to put our butt close to our heels. And then we're going to roll down. We're going to take our half wheel pose. Okay, or half bridge. So fingertips are reaching toward the heels, and we are going to come up one vertebrae at a time, starting with the tailbone. So the tailbone, move my hand so you can see, is the first part to lift. And then we're rolling up. When we get to the top part of the back and to the shoulders, we're going to walk the shoulder blades together and clasp the hands. Breathe here, keeping that nice lift, thinking of the back bend a little bit. Excellent. Lift those hips an inch higher if you can. And then we're going to lift the heels. And again, push those hips an inch higher. Getting a little more height into this back bending position. Excellent. Lift. Hold. Lower the heels slowly and gently. Excellent work. Separate the shoulder blades, and we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time. Breathe. Lift through the low back, just stretching, and then back down, pushing the low back to the mat. One more time. I'm going to move my hands so you can see. Lift through the low back. And then press it down. Pull those knees into the chest. We're going to take happy baby pose. So we're going to bring our knees to the outside of our ribs, grab the outside of our feet, and push the knees down while simultaneously kind of pushing up a little bit with the feet. Nice stretch for those outer hips. Good work, guys. Breathe. And then we're going to take it to a figure four. So we're going to relax one leg. The other foot is going to stay flexed. That helps protect the outside ligaments of the knee. And we're going to bring it across the body. You can either hold on to your thigh. So come up and pull it in just a little bit with your thigh. Or if you have a little more range, you can grab the shin. Breathe and pull that in. Feeling the stretch in the outside of the hip. And again, keeping this foot flexed. Breathe. One more breath here and then we'll switch sides. Okay, nice gentle release. Flex the other foot. Bring it across the thigh. And again, you might have more range on one side than the other. That's fine. You can grab your thigh or your shin and gently pull it in. So this figure four position, it's a modification of pigeon pose because pigeon pose can be a little bit intense sometimes for some people. It's also a good preparatory pose for pigeon, which we will go into in a little while. But when we do, if it's too much, you can come back to this pose instead. Breathe. Excellent job. And release everything down. Okay, we're going to slow roll up, starting one vertebrae at a time. We're going to start at our fingertips though, and then slowly lift our head off the mat and continue to roll, 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 roll until we get into our forward fold. Breathe here. Excellent. And then we're going to lean back. We're going to come into a reverse plank. So fingers press into the mat if you can. Fingertips point toward your feet. If that's too intense, it's fine. They can point out to the sides or even back. That's going to have to do with your shoulder mobility. So we're going to lift into our reverse plank. Breathe. Good job, guys. And you can look forward or drop your head back. That's your comfort level there. So if we can, lift the chest just a tiny bit more. Breathe. And feet can be pointed, stretching down to the mat, or they can be kind of pointed into the air. That's going to be, again, what you're comfortable with. Breathe. And we're going to touch our hips to the mat and then lift back up. So a little dynamic strength and stretch here. Tap the butt down, lift, tap, and lift. Hold, slow, lower. Good job. And we're going to come into our boat pose. So for this one, Belly's gonna pull in. We're gonna lean back a little bit. Knees are gonna come up. If you need to, hands stay on the mat. Otherwise, load them up. And the easier modification is to have your knees bent. Harder is to have straight legs. I'm sticking with the bent knees today, but you can pick whichever feels good to you. Okay, so we're gonna do 5 rock the boats. So high boat, which is this, to low boat, shoulder blades lifted, legs lifted, hold, belly pulls in, and lift. Good job. And stretch, hold, belly pulls in, and lift. Good. We can keep going. Stretch, belly pulls in, lift, breathe. 2 more. Stretch, belly pulls in, lift. Last one. Stretch, belly pulls in, and lift. Excellent work, guys. Breathe here. Hands are gonna come up or down on the mat beside you. If you need to rest or do a little modified cat-cow here to stretch it out, you can. Otherwise, one knee is gonna drop to the side and squeeze back in. So I want you to think about squeezing the inner thighs here because we are trying to work that internal and external rotation, the abductors and adductors. Those are the muscles on the inside and outside of the legs. 2 more drops on this side and then we'll do the other side and then move on to something else. Last one, other side. So drop and squeeze, drop and squeeze. We can do this. Drop and squeeze. 2 more and squeeze. Last one. Squeeze. Okay, we're going to reverse tabletop. So hands come below the shoulders, feet press into the mat. We're going to lift. So imagine if someone put a book or a plate right here, it would stay there without knocking off. If you're a little bit tighter through the hip flexors, the front of the hips, you might be down like this, or even the shoulder mobility. Doesn't matter, as long as you feel your body activating, you will build the strength and mobility to get a little more lift with practice. Breathe. Okay, and we're going to do those little butt taps, but instead of reverse plank, in this position, toes lift and lift. Good job. Drop and lift. Drop and lift. Breathe. Excellent. Good. Release it down. And we're going to come into our pigeon pose now. So we're just going to turn over here into plank for just a second. Our knee is going to pull into our chest. Our foot stays flexed. And we're going to set it down in front of us. Once we're there, I like to walk that back leg back to get a little more depth in the pose. Listen to your body, okay? So you can choose to keep fingertips down right now. If you have a little more mobility through the hips, which mine feel pretty tight today, you can put hands on your hips or arms overhead. Breathe, 2 breaths here. 1 more breath. And exhale. And then we are going to forward fold into a reclined pigeon. So you can stay on the forearms if that's comfortable, or you can lay the head and body all the way down. So what I do want you to notice is if you're really rounded like this, try and lengthen through the low back, even if that means coming up a little bit, and then sink down into it. Breathe. Good job. Stretching here. And then we are going to take the other side as well. So we're going to come up. Before we do that, we have an optional stretch for the hip flexor and the quadricep, the front of the thigh. So if you'd like to do it, we start by lifting that heel, pulling it toward our glute. So you'll feel a really deep, we're going to do that a couple times, deep activation of the hamstring muscle. That's the back of your thigh. Let's do that again without grabbing the foot. Last time. This time we'll add the hold of the foot. So pull that in. We want to build that strength because it's what helps us build mobility. So you can grab with one hand or both hands, your choice. If you have more mobility through the back, you can even reach up overhead and grab for the foot. My back mobility is not there. Maybe one day with practice. Good job, guys. Hold. And then when we release, I want you to keep the bend in the knee, release the hands, flex the foot, push it down into the mat so we can find our plank. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to lift that knee, pull it into our chest and flex the foot, set it down, find that position. If you can, walk the foot back. And again here, you can either keep your hands on the mat, bring them to your hips, or stretch them overhead. And we'll stay here for 2 breaths. One more deep breath. And then we're gonna forward fold, either onto the elbows or down a little further to the belly, letting our head relax into the mat. And again, if you find you're really rounded here, which I do catch myself doing often, lengthen through the back, lengthen through the neck, and then bring it down to wherever is comfortable. And stay here for a couple breaths. And then when you're ready, start to come up onto the elbows and we'll come up. We're gonna do those 3 bends of the back leg. And if your leg doesn't lift, don't force it. It's okay, it'll get there with time. So again, we're gonna pull that heel in toward the glute. We're just gonna hold for a beat and then relax it down. Breathe. So one of the big things with flexibility and mobility that's often overlooked, one more time, this time we'll add the grab, is the agonist-antagonist muscle interaction. So when one muscle strengthens, the other one relaxes. So a lot of times to build mobility, we also have to build strength in the opposite muscle. So if we're tight in the front, sometimes that means we need to build strength in the back. So again, you can do this with one hand or both hands, your choice, whatever feels okay to you. One more breath here. Okay, when you are ready, you're going to keep the bend of that leg, hands come down, foot flexes to press into the mat, and then we're gonna come into our plank position and we're gonna lift all the way up to down dog. Okay, so find your comfortable position here. Breathe. Okay, and we're gonna deep bend both knees, bring our chest toward our knees, armpits long, and then we're gonna straighten out as much as you can. Don't force it. Again, big bend, and then push those heels toward the mat, wherever they go. Last one. Stretch. I want you to feel that flat back stretch here. And down. And we're going to down dog split. So we'll take one foot slightly to the center and lift the other leg toward the ceiling. So we're starting with the toes and knee pointed down. So if I brought my foot down, I wouldn't be at the outside of my foot. It would be my toes pointing down. And we're going to pulse 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Knee turns out to the side, side of the ankle lifts, and we're going to do 10 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back to down dog. We'll take a little child's pose actually before we take the other side. So knees wide, Hips press back, arms lengthen, and release here. Breathe. Good job, guys. And then we're going to lift to the other side. So stretch out those hands, release, and lift to down dog. We'll do those 3 little bends again, or 3 big bends, I guess. So chest going toward the knees, knees bending, and then straighten out the legs. They might not get all the way straight, it's fine. And straighten, last one. Bend and straighten. Opposite foot comes slightly to center. Other foot comes up. Heel lifting, toes pointing toward the mat. And we're going to lift 10 times. Pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Knee opens out to the side. Maybe lift a little higher. Your body will tell you yes or no. 10 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And lower. We're going to shift our weight forward over the shoulders, bend the knees, and hover in beast pose. We're not going to hold it too long. I know shoulders are probably tired. So knees are lifted, back is flat. Breathe. You've got this. 2 more breaths. And then we're going to come down on the knees, put the tops of the foot down, and come to a half kneeling position. We're going to take hands to low back to start. So you can have hands pointing up or hands pointing down, and we are going to bring the shoulder blades together and elbows together like we did in our half wheel. So bring the shoulder blade squeeze behind you, and then we're going to lift from the abdomen, stretching it out, chest lifting toward the ceiling. So this is camel pose. We're modifying with hands on our back, but what I want you to notice is your hips are above your knees. Okay, so you can do this variation again, or we can add the arms, your choice. So arms are going to stretch up. We'll do one at a time. Hand comes back to try and find your heel and stretch up and over. So what I want you to notice is if you got a big lean back, or if you are able to keep the hips above the knees. Breathe. To lift, we're going to lift our hand, use the core muscles. Other side, so lift. Hand is going to stretch back to try and find that heel. Arm stretches, and again, trying to keep hips above the knees. Breathe. Camel pose. Lift. Use the core to come up. And we're going to come on hands and knees for cat-cow. Okay, so we just made our back work a lot. We're going to ease that out a little bit. So we're going to start with cow, dropping the belly toward the mat, hips and shoulders lift, head lifts. Inhaling, and then we're going to exhale, pushing into the hands and arching the back like a Halloween cap. 2 more times, going at your own pace. Exhale to cat when you're ready. So I want you to really think about mobilizing your back. 1 more time. And good job, guys. And we're going to come into our runner's lunge next. So I'm going to start on my right side. You can start on whichever side you would like, what feels good to you. And I want you to lean into it enough that you can focus on the opposite leg, the leg that's behind you, hip flexor. Okay, so if you don't feel anything in that hip flexor, I want you to lean into it a little bit more. Breathe. Good job, guys. Hold. And then we're going to straighten that leg, forward fold into our half split. So nose is dropping toward the shin or toward the knee or wherever. It might be up here. As long as you feel a stretch, it doesn't matter. Breathe. Good job. And then we're going to come forward into that knee. Hands are going to come to the inside of the leg, keeping the foot flexed. That's an important part of this. We're going to take our hand to the inner thigh and let it drop out a little bit. So some external rotation of that hip, probably feeling a nice stretch here. Breathe. Good job. And in. Straighten that leg. And bring it forward. Good job. Okay, this time we are going to shift back, hips above the knee, and then we're going to slide our foot forward for monkey pose, which is our splits. Again, I don't care how high or low you are in your split. As you can see, I'm not all the way down in my split. Some days I am. Most days I'm not. It depends on what else I've been doing. But it doesn't matter. The benefit of this pose for your back and your hips is so great that it's worth practicing, whatever the results are. Breathe. One more deep breath here. And release. Other side now. So starting in that runner's lunge, and again, I want you to think about this hip. So if you're up and this hip isn't being lengthened, I want you to sink deeper into it until you feel it right here. Hold and breathe. Good job, guys. One more nice breath here. And then we are going to straighten that front leg, hips above the knee, and lengthen forward. So again, nose is generally coming toward the knee or the shin. If you're more lifted, as long as you are feeling a stretch, you're good. And toes can be pointed down or up. If they're up, you're actually getting a little bit more stretch through the back of the leg. If they're down, you're getting some ankle mobility and a little stretch for the shin. Good job, guys. One more time. So long, stretch back. Okay, as we come forward, our hands are going to come to the inside of that foot, keeping the foot flexed. We're going to use our hand to push the inner thigh away gently, listening to your body, not forcing anything. And just trying to find that stretch. Maybe you feel it more in the groin. Maybe you feel it in the outside of the hips. There's no right or wrong answer. Every body is a little bit different. And bring it back in, lifting up, and again, sinking down toward monkey pose. Good job, guys. Hold for a few breaths. And if I hold longer than you are comfortable with and you need to come out if it's too deep of a stretch, just hold it for however long feels okay for your body. Breathe. Two more deep breaths here if you can. And release. 3 more cat-cows, noticing if your back and your hips feel any looser or if they feel the same or maybe even tighter. So at your own pace, pushing the floor away from you and back. Exhale. Last one. Exhale. Good job, guys. And release to neutral. Excellent. Come to sit on your butt. We're going to do let's do fire log actually. I was going to do lotus, but I want to do fire log today. So we're going to flex our foot, bring the knee directly out from the hip. Okay, so not out to the side like an easy position or a cross-legged position. So you can see my knees are a lot wider than the hips. I am keeping the foot flexed, bringing that knee in line with my hip and the front shin parallel to the edge of the mat. And then I'm taking the other foot, flexing it, and putting it on top. So again, if you have more hip mobility, you might be touching here. If you are a little bit stronger or tighter in the hips, you might be more here. It's fine. As long as you feel the stretch, as long as you're moving to where your body allows, you're in that right range of motion. So if you would like to give a little deeper stretch and it feels okay, so it shouldn't feel like a rubber band about to snap, that's too much. And if you feel like you have a little more mobility, you can put your hand on the shin or the thigh. I like to use my whole forearm and gently press down just a little bit. Keeping that foot flexed. And I like that because it deepens the stretch in my hip. And I'm going to sit an inch taller and then gently tilt forward from the hips. Okay, if you do it, you'll feel a deeper stretch on both sides. As you can see, I got a little bit closer here with that stretch, deepening. Breathe. Not forcing anything. That's one of the major things I want you guys to take away from yoga is to listen to your body, not force your body. Breathe and release. So to come out of this, we're actually going to add a twist. So this bottom leg, we're going to pull in toward our butt more. This top leg, we're going to bring across, and we're going to turn toward that front leg. Elbow is going to come to the outside, or you can even have your arm long. Sometimes that feels easier. And this hand is going to reach toward the opposite butt. And we're going to look behind us and breathe. Maybe releasing a little bit on the inhale, deepening on the exhale. Gentle twist for the back. Okay, and we're going to unwind. Okay, so we are going to switch legs. Whichever side you didn't just use, that knee is going to come directly out from the hip. That foot is going to stay flexed. Your other foot, once you find the position, and you can adjust as needed. A lot of times my heel wants to come in, so I have to bring my foot a little further forward because this pose is really challenging for me. Okay, flex the top foot. And again, when you are here, I want you to listen to your body. So one, check your weight distribution in your hips. Are you leaned really far to one side? Are you able to get weight even in both sides? And then you can use your hand or forearm, if your body says yes, to add a little more depth to your stretch, okay? Not forcing it. Again, if you feel really tight, like something's gonna snap, definitely don't force, okay? We don't want injuries. We want to protect our body from injury. Okay, and then if you are able to, sit a little bit taller, and then we're gonna just tilt forward from the hips. Breathe. Excellent work. One more breath here. Great job. We're going to release a little bit. That bottom heel is going to come in toward our butt. The top leg is going to cross over. And then we're going to add the twist. So elbow or whole arm comes to the outside of that thigh. We're going to twist from the hips, then the ribs, then the shoulders. Opposite hand comes to the opposite side of our butts, and we're going to look behind us. Breathe here. When you're ready, gentle release. Roll out those shoulders. Release the legs. Just easy pose for a second. We'll do a modified cat cow. So just like we did in our kneeling position, but we're going to do it seated. And that just helps us to notice the connection between your hips and your pelvic position and your low back. So a lot of times people get back pain, and if we can release the hips a little bit, we can, and strengthen too, but we can often alleviate a lot of that back pain. Okay, we're gonna take our legs wide. However wide is comfortable for you. And we are gonna sit really, really tall, trying to press the backs of our thighs into the mat, and then we are going to tilt forward. So first, we'll do our hand walk first. So we'll walk our fingertips however far forward they go, and we're thinking of lengthening the top of our head forward. Breathe. Excellent. And now from this forward fold, we're going to walk our hands out toward our feet. They might be closer. You might be up here. Again, I don't care. If you can, you're going to reach toward the toes. Breathe. And then we're going to come up. This time we're going to make it a little more dynamic. So your choice if you want to stretch your arms, hold your hands in a fist, or even put your hands behind your head with bent arms. Sometimes taking out some of that back strength required for the stretch can make it feel a little bit easier. But what we're going to do is just stretch forward. So instead of thinking about coming down, I want you to stretch your arms as long as they go. Reach an inch further forward if you can. And then stretch out toward the toes. So arms are going long beside you. Breathe. And then forward. And then toes. One more time. Forward. And toes. And lift. Good job, guys. Breathe. We're going to bring both legs forward, and we are going to stretch forward, reaching toward our feet. I don't care if you can touch them or not. Breathe. Good job. And I'm going to turn sideways just so you guys can see this next stretch. Okay, so we're going to grab one foot, hands on both sides. You can bend your knee if you need to, and we're going to bring it up. Okay, first thing we're going to do is bring it toward our chest. And if you're rounded, like I am, sit a little taller. Now we're going to try and bring that knee outside of the rib cage. So instead of just coming to the chest, we're trying to get it kind of under the armpit. Breathe. Good job here. Hold. Excellent. And then we're going to start to straighten. So I don't care if your knee stays bent, just try and find that lift a little bit. Now the tricky part comes in. We're going to try and lift that low leg. Hold. And drop. Two more lifts. Lift, hold, and drop. Last one. Lift, hold, and drop. We're going to let go of this foot, keeping it lifted if we can, and slow, controlled lower. Forward fold. Breathe. Okay, and then we are going to pull this knee into our chest. So just directly forward to our chest to start with. Hold. Sit a little taller if you can, so you're not rounded. And then we're going to bring that knee to the outside of our body. Breathe. So I'm flexing the foot and I'm using pressure and counter pressure to actually push that foot back a little bit and keep the foot flexed. Breathe. Good job. And then we're going to add the stretch. So you can have a bend. Whatever feels okay to you. Lift. Good job. We're going to do those 3 lifts. So you're going to find that balance point. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Last one. Lift and lower. Release that foot. Try and keep it up. And nice controlled lower, you can do it. Good job. Okay, and finally for the balance, we're gonna grab both knees, just hug them into our chest. We don't need to bring them outside of our ribs. When you're ready, we're gonna grab the feet or the big toes, whatever you can reach, and we're gonna lift our feet. Again, you don't have to get the legs straight. You can come to here, or here, wherever, any place in between, and just find that balance. Or you can try and find however much lift you have. Breathe. Good job. And we're going to release. Slow lower. Excellent. Forward fold. Breathe. Good job. And we're going to come up and over onto our belly. So you can just roll over, or you can turn around if you need to face whatever you're watching this on. So we're going to just lay on our bellies first, and we're going to practice just the lower body lift, okay? So first we'll start with just the heels to the glutes. So both heels come in, squeezing toward the glutes, activating the hamstrings, that's the back of the thighs, and feeling the hips press toward the mat, okay? So if you are really tight through your hip flexors, you might feel like more of a lift here, or like you can't get the hip bones all the way down. Again, don't force anything, but just be aware of that tightness, okay? And then we're gonna push the hips down, squeeze, heels toward the glutes. Breathe. And release. We're gonna do that one more time before we add a bigger lift. When you're ready, heels come in, activate the glutes, push the thighs into the mat, breathe, okay? Good job. Release. We're gonna add the upper body, so we're gonna bring hands directly below our shoulders. We're gonna activate by lifting the shoulders, lifting the hands off the mat. Now we're gonna lift the legs and stretch back, okay? So this is locust pose. But we're going to shift into bow by bringing the heels toward the glutes, grabbing the tops of the feet or the shins, whatever you can reach. And this might be a deep enough stretch for you. If it is, stay right here. Otherwise, we're going to try and make space between the ground in our chest and the ground in our thighs by lifting a little bit into bow. Breathe. Excellent. One more breath here. Lift an inch higher. And then release all the way down. We're going to roll over onto our backs for our final stretch series. So one leg goes long. The other leg we're going to hug into our chest. Breathe. And then we're going to lift that leg toward the ceiling. Excellent. Nose lifts toward the knee. And then we're going to pull that leg in an inch closer if you can. And release your head to the mat. Breathe. Good job, guys. Keep that stretch. And then bend that knee into your chest and bring it across your body. So we're not forcing anything. We're letting gravity take that floor toward the ground, that knee toward the mat, and both shoulders stay on the mat. We're looking in the opposite direction. Deep breaths here. So kind of like that seated twist we did, but we get a little assist from gravity. And then hug that knee into your chest. And lengthen that leg out. It might feel longer than the other one right now. Just notice that. We're going to stretch and make it even. So other knee pulls into your chest. And then leg goes long. Belly pulls in, nose lifts toward the knee. If you can, Leg pulls in an inch closer, hold. And then release the head down, keeping that leg where it is, and you can hold with your foot, your calf, or your thigh. Just don't yank on your knee. Breathe, and then bend that knee in. Bring it across your body. Both shoulders stay on the floor. And again, we're not forcing anything. We're letting gravity do the work of taking that knee toward the mat. Good job. Breathe. And hug that knee in. Lengthen that leg. Find Savasana. We're going to finish with just 3 deep breaths. So after you've found your comfortable position in Savasana, feet relaxed out to the side, fingers relaxed, ground supporting your body, we're going to exhale. Breathe in through the nose. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. In through the nose. All the way into the belly. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. Last one. Breathe in through the nose. Slow exhale through the mouth. Let your breathing come back to normal. If you want to stay here a little bit longer, you can. Otherwise, when you're ready, roll to your right side. Stay there for a breath or 2. And then take a seated position on your mat. I hope today's yoga flow was really nice and relaxing for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know, and I will see you soon. Bye, guys.